dream again. Please don't give up on your future. Today, we're going to be meeting with a good friend of mine. Her name is Aretha Scruggs, and she is a phenomenal singer, phenomenal person, phenomenal woman of faith, a woman of culture. She's a mom and getting ready to be a PhD. Dr. Aretha, she's a dynamic woman, and we're going to have a great opportunity to talk with her today about her journey as a creative. So, lock in, check out what our sponsors got to say, and we'll be back. At Mike Henry's Barbecue Company, we are passionate about delivering not just the best food, but the best experience. Nestled in the heart of Rancho Cucamonga, our mission is to treat every guest like family, offering mouth-watering barbecue that's slow cooked to perfection and served with a smile. From our tender brisket to our savory ribs, each dish is crafted with love and attention to detail. Our dedicated team goes the extra mile to ensure every visit is memorable, blending friendly, attentive service with a warm, inviting atmosphere. At Mike Henry's Barbecue Company, we don't just serve food, we serve happiness. Welcome, Miss Aretha, to Life Interrupts Us, the podcast. I am so glad that you took the time to connect with me today. I've longed to have conversations like this with friends and people who I admire. This season, the first season we focused on relationships. So all of the episodes had to do with some dynamic of relationship, be it fathers and sons or friends or romantic or all of that. And then second season, this season we're in now, has to do with the journey of the creatives. And I had, from the very beginning of plotting out the podcast almost 2 years ago, I had put your name on a list of people that I wanted to sit down and talk to. We have a very unique connection through Blake and through your sister, and I want to just have a conversation about that because I think it's really neat, really cool how our lives intersected in the most auspicious way. And it's turned into some really powerful things that have happened between us over the last 4 years. And so thank you for being here. This is a storytelling podcast, and so I will tell a story to just set the mood, and then if you have a story that you want to tell that kind of highlights some of your journey as we're talking through it, we would love to hear it. We'd love to hear it.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to take us back to 2020.
Okay.
My production company put on an event featuring your sister, Tony Scruggs, for those of you who know her full name. And I didn't even know, because Tony and I have been social media associates for a long time, because we have a lot of similar friends. We have people that I've known for decades are people that she's worked with. And so the first time I heard her sing, I was like, wow, this girl's amazing. I want to do something with her. And so, we started putting together things and plotting our paths. But I had no idea that Tony had all these sisters. And so we met, because I think I met your mom too, at that event that we did. I think your mom was there. And I remembered your face, and I was like, why do I know her? I know her. And so as it turns out, the year before, 2019, I was working on my most recent album, because I haven't done a full album since then. And I was telling a friend of mine earlier that I decided for the first time I wanted to experiment with some other producers and some other studios. Because normally I produce my own stuff, I record at my own studio, and it's home, so I'm able to navigate and do what I want to do, and it don't cost me nothing extra. But this album, I brought in several producers, like 4 different producers, and I used shoot, 3 or 4 different studios, including mine. Well, one of the studios that I used because when I went on their website to see what their packages were, they had some demo work of people who had recorded there. And who did I see? Aretha Scruggs. And I was like, well, okay, that's weird that her last name is Scruggs. But at the time, oddly enough, I didn't make the connection. So I didn't even think about it then. And I was just like, I listened to several things that you did there. And I was like, wow, first of all, I dig her voice. I think she's dope. And then this recording studio sounds right. So I booked some time and did I think I recorded 3 or 4 songs there. And it was a neat experience because I've always recorded at my own studio. So to even be somewhere else, and he's got the full on thing there and the big rooms and all that. I'm like, wow, this is how it feels when artists get signed to a label, or when they working outside and they're not producers themselves and they go meet in these studios and all that. So it was cool. But again, your picture, your face was like, oh, so when I met you, when Tony introduced us, it still took me a minute. I didn't make the connection at the concert. I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. It's like, man, this girl looks familiar. It looks familiar. When I would get home, and then obviously that night they announced that the world was shutting down. And I got home and started doing some research and was like, that's the girl. That's the lady who was singing at the studio. She's the reason I used that studio. So I thought that was really cool. And then, fast forward, here we are now. We've developed a relationship. We've done business together. We've recorded together. My son has been under your tutelage, and through your insight, that little boy's made quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Yes, yay.
That's awesome.
We was all broke during COVID, but he was balling.
That's so awesome.
So yeah, that's when I think about you, that's the story that's permeated in my mind. And you never know how you're gonna intersect with people. And it's just like, man, that's crazy. And then to find out that you and J. Michael are tight. I've known that boy since he was in high school, and just crazy stuff. Crazy. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I was gonna say that's our meeting. Yes, I remember that show that I went to was probably one of the last concerts before everything shut down.
It was the last one there. Yep.
Yes, that was one of the last concerts I'd been to, and then actually when you asked me after, in the midst of it, I don't even know if I had started this is the benefit of your request. I hadn't started my own home studio before. And so it's crazy when you asked me to work on, I don't know if I had started being with Blake yet, or if this was after starting to talk with Blake or teach Blake. But I did not have any kind of studio yet. I think when you first asked me, but because of 2020, we as professionals, talking about creative professionals, we had to quickly pivot. We had to pivot. Right. I had some knowledge of using different DAWs, but having my own microphone, the different silence thing, different, just set up in my own room. I had to really
fancy
quickly, quickly learn, because it was like you're requesting and someone else was like, do you have the ability to record from home? And I was like, no, but let me figure it out. So it literally was request after request, and yours is in the midst of others that forced me to quickly learn what a home studio was and to quickly put one together and learn how to work it. So when the product that we were able to put together really came out great, I thought. But
I bang that song all the time. I love it. You'd have
That's
never known
awesome.
that you were a novice, that you just
I
learned
was
how to
a
do that. It was,
novice. I mean,
yeah.
and it was just a continual, and I just got projects after that. And I was like, okay, maybe I got this, So it's crazy. Like your request was a part of me learning how to quickly not only pivot as artists, what we had to do in the quarantine, but like now I still have a home studio who, people still ask requests for me to record stuff. And it like started with, you're part of the first projects that I recorded when I was putting my studio together. So thank you.
You're welcome, my lady. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. See, and I didn't know that because I made the assumption that I think you and Tony were living together at the time, because I had just done something with her like that.
Right.
So I was like, if Tony has it, I'm sure Aretha has it. So let me get her on this song. So
Oh yes.
Would have never known. Then you're a pro then, because it
Man, oh yes. I mean, she helped me with putting stuff and seeing what I needed because I had no idea. That's my sister has always been ahead of the game, not only vocally but technologically. She is a techie. Most people don't know, and she knows all the stuff, the latest gadgets, the latest anything having to do with computers, anything having to do with really anything. You can say, "Hey Tony, can you figure this out?" And she will. If she doesn't know, she knows how to research and figure out how to fix things, she's like a gadget guru. She knows
that's cool.
everything. Yeah.
She hit me up and was like, okay, so what mics are you using? I was like, what? What do you, what, you're not coming over here. What difference does it make? So like, well, I want to match tones, and I use the AKGs, da, 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 da. And I was like,
oh yeah. She not playing.
And I have a roster of mics, but I was like, it tripped me out so much so that when I recorded, when she and I did that song, I tried like 3 different mics of mine to get a matching sound. I was like, okay, yeah, that one, that's not it. Let me try this one. Okay, no, that's close, but okay, now I found one that I was like, matter of fact, I went out and bought another microphone. Or not went out because we were at home. I online and bought another phone when I was doing that thing with her, because I was like, okay, I need another mic now, and it just gave me an excuse to buy another mic. So it's like, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
She knows and knew. She knows a lot of stuff. People don't know she's very techie.
That's a trip. Yeah. So Aretha, you are a single mom. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How old is your daughter?
She's 8. Like, she'll be 9 in June. Yes.
Precious. They're precious then.
Yes.
Ooh, they're precious. I remember when Blake was that age. He was precious. I want to choke him now, but he was precious then. Girls are different, so yours might stay precious, but boys,
I hope so.
When they become teenagers, like, ooh, boy, if you was bigger, I tell them all the time, if you was bigger, I can't wait to get bigger so I can knock you out. Like, ooh.
And then boys have the voice change. I can't imagine that. They got a cute little voice, and out of you're like, wait a minute,
it cost that boy money.
Who are you talking to?
That voice change cost that boy money.
Oh yeah,
Man, they were like, well, we love him, but he's sounding too much like a man now.
Oh man,
we'll circle back when he's actually a man. I'm like,
oh man,
oh my God! It's like, really? He can do it. He can still sound like a kid.
Figure it out.
He couldn't figure it out. I was like, oh man, come on! I was like, come on, Blake. You're only 12. What are you doing? Stop talking from your stomach. Talk from your throat.
You're right. Talk from your throat. Wow, that's real.
They were trying. I can't remember who it was. It may have been what's her name? Berica.
Berica. Yeah.
Yeah, it may have been Berica was doing something with him, and she was like trying to work with him to get him to channel it. And she was because she does a lot of kid voiceover stuff too.
She does.
So she was modeling for him how to do it. And
wow, it wasn't working.
I was sitting there going, well, there go the money. Money gone. It's like,
there
oh man.
There you go.
Man. So listen, you are there's another reason why I wanted you to be on the podcast, because you are what people call me often. I'm a Renaissance man, and I embrace that. And you are a Renaissance woman. You cover so much ground, from genre specific concerts to being a college professor, and now that I got a chance to see some of your last event after the fact, I was mad about that. You're in a doctorate program, and so I'm like, wow, she's really, she covers the map. You do background vocals for for big artists. You do studio session work. How did you get into all of that, and how well does it all marry together, or how chaotic is it?
Interesting. Well, as I call myself a rainbow personality. I realized that actually exists. Somebody actually called me that, and I said, "Huh." Because when you have a lot of gifts, people have my whole 20s and in my 30s. Oh, you need to pick one thing. Oh, you need to pick one. You do too many things. You
Yeah.
need to pick one thing. And so it made me insecure for a while in my 20s. You're trying to find your way, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to just be a singer. Maybe I need to just do. So I was like trying to fit myself in a box for a while. Or you need to just be a worship leader. Like people are really, really honing in on forcing me to do one thing. And I actually attribute it to my relationship with God, because when I seriously like owned who I was and that I am a masterpiece, that I
Hey,
am
that's right.
beautifully and wonderfully made, like
That's
those things
right.
really started to stick to me. And I actually went to seminary after I went on
Mm.
tour with Natalie Cole for 3 years, and I felt this call to, and it wasn't necessarily going to seminary, but there was a program that they had that was, I said, if I ever went back to school, because I graduated from UCLA and I was actually pre-med and didn't want to have
Go
anything to
Bruins.
do with music. I actually didn't want to have anything to do with music because we spent our childhood doing music. So I was just going to be a doctor. I was like, hey, I don't want to do this. But as I always tell my students, when you're really meant to do something, it won't leave you alone. It just won't.
Yeah, I
So,
know the feeling.
yeah, it just won't leave you alone. And so my twin sister and I, we literally tried to run away from it, and we're just like, hey, we're pre-med, let us be. But everybody just kept finding out that we sang and ended up um, just getting all kind of, just being involved in all kind of studio sessions, moving out to LA, and we're worship leaders at our church. And it just led to it that we went on the road with Natalie Cole for 3 years, right after we graduated from
Wow.
UCLA. But in the process of we sang with her for 3 years, and then I was kind of in this like in between phase, and like was just kind of praying, God, what do you want me to do now? And ended up he led me to this school that had, I said, if I ever went back to school, it would be with music, culture, and theology. I wanted that faith piece in there. And so I ended
Okay.
up doing that, and did the 2-year program, and it was through ethnomusicology, which is how I finished my master's, and even when it went to be a professor at Azusa Pacific University. But I say all that to say, as I was graduating, I was trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do when I was finished my master's program. And one of my friends was getting um, this certification as a life coach, and she's the one who, she was like, "Can I spend a few sessions with you and just walk you through?" She said, "I know you're in a transition in life." I said, "Yes, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do." And she's the one who, her life coaching specialized in rainbow personalities.
Yeah. Okay.
And she literally sat with me for like 3 4-hour sessions, or three like 2-hour sessions. And she helped me map out like everything, all of my interests on like this. My name was in the middle. And then we just went, and she was like, "What do you see yourself doing?" So I just was randomly naming everything. I'm a Zumba
I
instructor.
like that. I
I
like
want
that.
to,
I like that. I like that.
I literally just, I wasn't anything at that point, but just background singing. But I said, "Oh, a professor, I'd love to do a podcast. I'd love to work in film and television. I'd love to I just started naming all this stuff. And so we had this big piece of paper. And I'm telling you, that was in 2010. I've done all of those things.
Wow, you've done all those things.
I've done all those. I
Bravo.
had no idea. I had no idea that I was going to be a professor. That's not why I went to get my master's. But I mean, I wasn't even in film and TV yet. I didn't even move into doing movies and television yet. But it was just like, oh, I love all these things. So it was just like one of the one of the arms on my little pinwheel that I did. And I literally have done and am still in some aspect of all of those things. And it was just, I think, for us rainbow personality people, it's owning it. It's owning it. It's embracing and loving in spite of what everyone says. No, I don't have to pick one. Leave me alone. But she said, I love that she said, you won't necessarily be like in all of these, but there'll be different seasons where you're more singing this season, or you're more teaching this season, or you're more, you might be in two of them, but then the other three went a little bit silent. But all of these represents the fullness of the expression of who you are. And so I think after I saw that on paper, I still bring it out sometimes. It helped me to fully own and name who I am and my interests, and basically, again, the masterpiece that is the God-given me. So I don't let anybody force me into boxes anymore. And as I feel unction, I'm really an intuitive person. And I'm really like a spirit-led person, I say. And when things come, even with this concert that I did, I don't shut those down. I go, maybe there's something to that. And stuff that like especially keeps tapping me, like I'm waking up and I'm thinking about it, or I'm or even just in daily life, it keeps hitting my mind. Oh, and I just start writing stuff down. And eventually I just go, all right, let me walk towards it. And so that's how I'm this person. I just keep walking towards.
I love it. I love it.
Philip Sharpskills Jacobs, from Los Angeles, California, native, born and raised there. I'm a hip hop artist, I'm a leadership speaker, I'm an author. Mainly I'm a creative, and I'm excited and passionate about entrepreneurship and helping people realize their full God-given potential.
Speaking of the concert, so when I was watching the video, obviously the camera angle only showed like the first maybe 2 or 3 rows, maybe a few of the rows, but it sounded like it was really full of people in there. Did you have a good turnout?
It was. Yes.
Yeah, every time there was an applause or something, I was like, man.
Yes, we had about 250 people, I think, on the bottom floor. And then it had that. I loved that venue. You would have loved that venue. On the top, they had this, the balcony was open too. So there were a few people in the balcony too. So it was a great turnout. I didn't even, I didn't expect. Then people, once they knew that there was a online way they can watch it, like 600 people viewed that. So it was a great turnout. And we also raised money for the outing and passing of victims too. So it's great. Almost $5,000.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys covered, and I commented on it, you covered a Witness song. What was it? He Can Do the Impossible? Was it that
one? Safety. We did.
Oh, yeah. Safety. Yes. And I was just like, wow, because many years ago, I had a group called Conversion. And we were, it was about 5 or 6 of us, and we would, travel around doing gospel and all that kind of stuff. But we always covered at least one Witness song. I loved Commission and Witness were my 2 favorite groups. And one came out of the other. But Witness, they were like, I was like, oh my God, these girls. And when I clicked on that video, and I'm like, that song, when they started playing, and I was like, that sounds, nah, they're not. They're doing Witness. Oh man, that was so dope, so nostalgic, and so dope. You don't hardly hear anybody cover Witness music.
You don't.
It was almost like only a small group of people knew who they were.
Right.
But I was like a Witness. I was like a commission Witness, Dawkins and Dawkins historian. So like I knew everything about all of them. It was like
right. Right. And we did all those songs when we were, kids in high school. We did a lot of Witness songs. That was a lot of who we sang when we sang as kids. And
Made
most of
sense.
all the girl groups, the Clark sisters, the Pace sisters. We did some of the choir songs, but those anytime, I mean, even Beyonce and all, then we did their gospel songs. So we did quite
Yeah.
anything that was. We always
Did you
did.
cover any Virtue?
We did do, and that was one of the songs we were thinking of doing if we didn't do the Witness song. We were gonna do a Virtue song. Yep.
Yeah, that was one of my wife's favorite groups. When Virtue came out, she was bumping them hard.
Oh
I was like, I
yeah.
think you'll like this because they
Oh
too
yeah.
were produced by Commission or some people from Commission, as well as some
Oh,
people from Take Six.
I didn't
Mhm.
know.
I'm telling you,
Wow.
I can rattle off all the
You
facts.
like?
I used to be a jacket reader. I would study the album jackets. That's why I hate now that,
I
like, even
missed
now,
those.
if I go to Apple Music or whatever to look at music, listen to music, I go view credits. I want to see who
Yes.
did what. And
Right.
then, oh, that person played on that. I know that person. I was like, I hate
Right.
that we don't have the tangible product much anymore except vintage records. And I
Right.
love the jacket read. That's one of my
Me
favorite things to do.
too.
One of
Just
my
read.
favorites.
Oh yes. I miss that
So
too.
so you so you went to school for theology.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was your plan with that? Were you planning to be an ordained preacher, or why was there an interest in that?
No, I went back. One again, I really pay attention to the calling where I'm going. I went to when I graduated from UCLA, one of my I have a spiritual mom and she suggested the program because they had a worship theology and the arts program. And I thought that I would be I wanted to be a gospel artist. So like Yolanda Adams,
Oh,
I wanted to, and so I wanted to get the theological grounding for songwriting and for whatever else that might come from that. And so that was my view going in. And so, but then because at that point I traveled to I think 15 countries. I had just gotten back from 4 countries before I even started my program. And so they were
wow.
like, you have this cultural understanding with all the traveling that you're doing. So they steered me away from theology to actually culture. So that's how I ended up with it was still kind of theology grounded, but it was theology, culture, and music. And so that's how the program that I ended up with is how I was steered that way. And so I always knew that was, growing up in a Christian household and our gospel was our founding, what we grew up singing. I always love the background information on Bible stories and culture and what was happening back in the even in the Bible stories and the time was happening there. But then also the deeper understanding of culturally who I am as African American woman and understanding that grounding and then helping to understand the groups or the different cultures and countries that I might go to. I was fascinated and still am fascinated by that. And so that's kind of always the core of me is music, culture, and faith. And so
Okay.
I wanted to, so that was my view to just kind of get that and put into my singing and my songwriting. But interestingly, when I left, I felt like I was even more so meant to stay within the music industry that I was a part of in the entertainment industry, and I was just meant to be a light there, at least kind of as a ministry aspect. But then it ended up leading me to I didn't know to be a part-time professor also. So it
Wow.
it opened up a whole new door I didn't know that I would love.
Wow. So okay. So then, what happened then to the journey of becoming the next Yolanda Adams? What happened there?
Huh.
Because you are clearly on a different path than that. You're not.
Yes.
I don't. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't consider you a gospel artist. You have done gospel, yes,
Yes.
but I don't consider you a gospel artist because I've heard some of your original music. I've seen what you cover. You do it all. So I don't. I consider you to be an artist who happens to be a Christian, but not a
Yes.
Christian artist. But
And
what happened?
it's literally that step freed me to explore. Like within the whole theological, like I'm very serious about my walk and theology and what I believe. And so somehow in the process of my study within the seminary, it freed me from what ministry looks like. It really freed me from what God is capable of doing in the earth that wasn't just in the four walls of the church or even so much within gospel as a genre. There was just a freedom, I was around everybody. So half of the school is like American, the other half are from other countries, like they're
right
from. So I was fascinated I'm sitting in class with people from Kenya and Botswana and Chile and just all these, Romania, all these other countries, and I'm listening to their stories of how God called them to come to America or come to literally pick up everything and go to Korea. And, they're whatever they were before, like they're now in this other country and they're learning new customs and learning new ways of being and just being a vessel where they're at. And I looked back at my own journey through all my papers and I was like, wow, I feel like that's what I have been doing. I am a worship leader, a gospel artist, from, my whole upbringing of being in the church. And I have, through all these experiences, I've learned the culture and learned all of what it means to be in this industry. And I am literally being placed. I started to see every job that I got a placement, literally almost like a missionary. I'm a placement in this space and I'm a vessel to be used there. And so it really became this freedom to what God is capable of doing, what he's able to do through me. And I just, again, it was right after I finished that program, I felt this need to go and get some music training. So I ended up going to Pasadena City College and taking some music classes. I've never taken music classes. I took training in jazz voice, for almost 2 years. Well, just on and off. I took some classes with a personal instructor in jazz voice, and I was in a jazz ensemble. And it just opened up this whole new world of jazz to me that I didn't know existed. Tony was always the explorer. Musically, like we weren't allowed as kids to listen to anything but gospel music. Like it was not allowed in our home.
You came from that house.
It was not allowed in our home. And our parents were always the ministers of music. So they always had gospel on because they were learning it for, the week they were teaching choir rehearsal. So we just listened. Besides Tony was the only one who would sneak and, you'd hear she'd go.
You didn't even have to tell me that. I knew that. No, I could have said that. Tony was the one.
She went and she found Sarah Vaughan at, 12 years old. She found Ella Fitzgerald. So she found all these, Layla Hathaway. She would have CDs and we're like, how did you even get this? But the other three of us were just like gospel to the core.
But y'all were obedient.
We were obedient. We were gospel.
Y'all were docile. She was that child. She is the only one who knew all of that stuff. So I'm still, as an adult, I'm having to relearn some of the greats. Like I didn't grow up on Aretha Franklin. I didn't grow up on any of them. So I've had to come back and learn. But it was through the training that I got through jazz, learning to scat, learning improvisation, learning how to read music, learning how to play the piano a little bit. It changed my whole understanding of not only what I'm capable of, but again, this whole thing of getting a skill to, I feel like all of this, even with my master's, it's like, Spirit led me to go get some training, and it was just a skill that he used to place me somewhere else to be a light in that space. So everywhere I just became, I'm singing jazz. What in the world? But it made me so free, and I just love that to explore.
So it's like I had this same core of being Yolanda Adams. I'm this core of this minister who sings, but now it's like expressed in a different way.
Sure.
So
yeah. I was talking to a friend earlier about that. He and I have very similar paths. As much as I grew up in the church, and when I started singing, I just always assumed, yes, you're going to be a gospel singer, because I grew up in the church. And while my home wasn't as strict about music, because my whole family was musical. My mom and my aunt and my uncle. My mom plays piano and sings. My uncle plays and sings. I played the drums and messed around with the keyboard a little bit. So music, and my grandmother was the piano teacher. Music was so around us that we didn't have that much of an iron fist about music. Now, my grandfather was the patriarch and the pastor, but he, as much as he didn't sweat us, this is weird, he didn't sweat us about music. We couldn't do much else. I couldn't play Monopoly. Monopoly had dice. You couldn't play no games that had dice. We couldn't play any games that had cards that you would use for like poker or blackjack. He would come home and be like, "What's on those cards, Stevie?" And, "Dad, this is old maid. Let me see them." And we'd have to show him the cards, because he came from a world of drinking and gambling and smoking. Yeah. So those were the things that were taboo. He never ever mentioned music. So my house was filled with the Emotions and James Cleveland and the Hawkins and Gino Vanelli. And so it was a very eclectic, thing. And I never sweated that. But as a kid who grew up in church, once I started singing, I made the assumption I'm supposed to be a gospel singer.
Right.
When I started writing music and putting music together, the vibe that I always felt was very urban. And it's interesting because I'm a duality in a live presentation. I'm a very different person, and you've seen me perform live. Yeah. But in the studio, I'm more drawn to urban music. This is weird. I've never really been able to capture my full self in the studio doing like full on music. It's always the urban stuff, like the song you and I did. I vibe off that. I can't vibe off the other stuff, but then in live, I want to sing the stuff like me and Tony sang at the show. I want to sing the stuff that really speaks to live. But it took me years to find my footing, because I was so in my mind thinking, you got to do gospel. You got to do gospel. And so my first couple of albums were gospel albums, but my very first album wasn't received well by the church because it was very urban. I mean, I grew up listening to Commission and Witness and Dawkins and Dawkins. And while they had some churchy stuff, over the years, they evolved into very urban groups. Yeah. And very, very R&B sounding groups.
Right,
and
for sure.
I'd be on these little church tours singing my music, and then people would be sitting there looking. And this lady, and I told this story to another friend of mine. This lady bought my CD, and I saw her like a couple of weeks later, and I said, "Oh, thank you for coming to my event. It was good to see you there." She said, "Oh yeah, it was nice." She said, "I got to tell you, I love your voice, but you need some new songs." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "You bought my CD." And she said, "Yeah, I want to support you, honey, but you need some new songs. You need some songs that sound like church." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I spent years trying to fit into that mold, especially within the Black church. Yeah. Now, had I gone the CCM route, I would have been in there way faster, but it was too boring for me. But the Black church was too much of a box. Yeah. Everybody riffing and running all over the place.
So true.
While I could do that, it was like, that's not, after you've done one or two of them, you can't keep doing those in every verse. It's like you're killing me. I get it. You can do the runs. You can do the Karen Clark and the Kim Burrell stuff. Great. Now, can you
Yes.
just sing the song? The song is so pretty. Can't you just sing the song? And so I found myself going, okay, the conflict is over because I was conflicted about it. I felt
Yeah.
like you're a Christian, you're supposed to be a gospel artist. And then I had some epiphanies. Um, and it's cool listening to how you had your epiphanies because you talk about the cultures that you were around and all the exposure. Mine came from soul searching and from
Mm,
my wife. And I
mm.
was like, I just feel like I'm not a gospel artist. I feel like I'm an artist who's a Christian. So that
Yeah.
means
Pretty
that I'm
much.
not going to sing anything that contradicts who I am to my core.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there's things that I write and want to talk about that you don't hear in the Christian realm. And I was
Yes.
like, man, okay, I'm done. And so after
So
that,
true.
I stopped doing church stuff. I stopped doing church gigs. People would call me, hey, Stephen, can you come and minister at our church? No, I'm not really the one. The music I'm doing right now, you don't really want to hear that. And I would have to go so far back in my albums to pull out music that fit. And I was like, you know, here, let me give you a name of somebody that you want to come and minister to you. Now, if you want me to come
Yeah.
teach the word, because I was a pastor for years. If you want me to come teach the
Wow.
word, no problem. I
Right.
got you. But
Right.
yeah, and I might do, and I also was a worship leader. So it's like, I'll lead you. If you ask me to
I
do
need worship.
to lead
Right.
worship, I can step into that. But if you ask me
Right.
to come and be a guest artist,
Yes.
I'm not your man. Because I'm going to
That's
just do worship and you're going to be looking at me like, we ain't gonna start singing some songs. It's like, no, we just came to worship. That's the best I can give you. So I
right.
think that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
You spoke about being on tour with Natalie Cole.
Yes.
Were you with her when Lisa Vaughn was with her?
No, and I don't know. I know Lisa came on. I think she was one of the last singers with her before she passed.
Mm,
But maybe Lisa might have been on before me also. So me and my twin sister were on with her 2003 to 2006.
okay.
And so the two of us and a singer, Marcelina Hawthorne, who got us on, we were all worship leaders together at Maranatha Community Church, and she just pulled us and was like, "Hey, can you
Billy
sing
Graham.
with Billy Graham, Billy Ingram,
Okay.
Billy
Billy Ingram, I'm
Ingram?"
sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
mom
yeah.
is friends with his wife.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
We were at their house when he passed. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Wow.
Hmm.
It was Salambra.
Yes,
Yes.
Salama. Yes,
Okay.
her
Salambra.
name sounded. It just sounded like a celebrity name. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yes. She pulled us and just asked they were doing a Colors of Christmas tour, and they added Natalie Cole the week of the show, and she said, "Hey, can you two come and just sing background with her, because her background wouldn't sing it or something." I don't know what was happening, but we were just in the choir for that year, and she pulled us and had us learn her two songs in 2 nights, and we sang it, and she was like, "Wow." Natalie met us. "You guys look like my twin sisters." She's like, "We hope to sing with you in the future." And we were like, "Yeah, right, okay." But literally, we had just graduated from UCLA that December, and by March, her musical directress, Gail Diedrich, called us and said, "Do you guys want to go on the road with Natalie?" We were like, "Oh my God,
Wow,
what?" And same thing, that
wow.
conflict, talk about that conflict of gospel versus singing secular. Like, people were so, "What do you mean you're worship leaders? What do you mean you're going on the tour with Natalie Cole?" It was such a conflict and a rub pretty much most of my most of my journey. But
Yeah,
I just said, hey, I believe that God opens doors for ministry for us, and He'll do what He needs to do while we go, and we're gonna go. And it's crazy because right before I even got that job, I had this like desire. I always pay attention to my desires. I had this desire. I was like, wow, it'd be so cool to learn the music industry behind the scenes. That was just my thought.
mm,
It'd be so cool to learn the music industry behind the scenes. And we got this job out of nowhere. "Hey, you want to go and be a background with Natalie Cole?" And it just opened up. So that was our start. And it was, has led
wow.
to a 20-year career that just opened up so many doors for us. The training that we got from her, because she was no joke. She
Mm,
was no joke. We didn't, for the whole 3 years, we didn't know what we were singing until we got on the stage. There was a set list, There was a set list, and only she knew what the set list was. And all of us, singers, musicians, all the above, we didn't know what we were playing until we got on the stage.
Cap Clothing, aka Cap LA, aka Knowledge and Persistence. Established in 2018, Cap is a clothing company based out of the Los Angeles, California area. Wow, so, I'm trying to visualize that.
You just don't know what that is. We had our first, so she hired us. We had a month to learn 50 songs, 50, and then we had 1 week of practice, and we went off. We went to Japan for 3 weeks. That was our first tour. We did two shows every night, and every night on our background stand was the set list. And all we had was a thick book. We had a thick book of lyrics, and sometimes it had charts, and I was not reading at that time at all. And so that's all we had. And so we get on the stage and, who remembers this song? Like, we just,
wow.
We get to go, well, y'all, do y'all remember this song? And then we'd have to go in our book and see what was there for us. Sometimes there was lyrics, sometimes there was a chart, but we just had to be on our toes. We just had to constantly, there was like the first, because she always did between a 75-minute to a 90-minute show. The first about 30, 40 minutes were always somewhat mostly the same set. Like it was always her what do you call it? Her American Songbook set.
Oh yeah, her standards, yeah.
They're her standards. And a lot of those songs, half of those songs were always in every show. But even within that show, she could pull out anything from, whether we briefly touched it or we didn't. She could pull out anything in the 50 songs that they gave us, and it would just be on the set list, and we would just be expected to be able to back her up. And then her R&B stuff would end the show, and we would just have to know, there was always there were always some for sure that were on the set, but she literally could pull anything on us. So we were just like on pins and needles every show.
That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure.
Especially for we were 22. We were 22.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Nothing but church babies. We could harmonize well, but it was a lot of pressure. And there was a lot of times where there was a song we used to sing called, what was it? What was the song? Like she'd always have those songs where we would just get a note. And then, if I had to choose just one day, like we just get a note, boom. And we had to, she would look at us to go, ready? And we would just have to harmonize with no musical accompaniment. We just had to be on and just be ready to do it. So that was a training ground. I haven't had to do anything like that. But she trained us, because after that, like we worked with Ray Chu and we did all the BET Celebration of Gospel stuff, the BET Awards, and they would get us, we'd have a set list and the artist would show up and say, oh, we're not doing that song anymore. And so we have to go backstage and learn their song real quick and be able to sing it, and they're pressing record. We're on stage. Boo, are you ready? No! Like so it trained us to be able to. Yes, you are, because you work for Natalie Cole. we had to, so it literally trained us for what came, because we just became the singers who they knew, we can give them a song at the last minute and they'll have it and we can record. Let's go. And we just became, incredible. We became those singers.
That's incredible. And see, I ask about Lisa because Lisa and I have been friends for years. I used to do Lisa's hair.
Oh, wow. You do hair too?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. So there's so much you don't know about me. I was a hairstylist for 33 years.
Wow.
When we met at the show in 2020, I was in the process of retiring from hair. I had sold, Mika and I had sold, Mika and I were both hairstylists, but she left the business many years earlier than I did, and she was teaching. And we sold the salon in 2019, but I
Wow.
stayed there and continued to work. But 2020, I was retiring because I was finishing my degree and was transitioning into education as well. But COVID, that weekend at that show was the last time I would do hair at the salon,
Wow.
because when they shut the world down, I said, well, bye. I was like, that's it. But yeah, I used to do Lisa's hair, and Lisa
Wow.
sang with my group Conversion sometimes. And I remember Lisa introduced me to Shaka Khan one time. She was like, oh, you got to meet this guy. He's a phenomenal vocalist, and you got to meet him. Shaka was like, oh, hey, how you doing? She wasn't thinking about me. She was going on about her business. But yeah,
Right.
I know that she worked with Natalie as well, and Diana Ross. And
Wow.
so, yeah, it's just a small
It's a
world.
small world.
Very
And
small world.
Lisa, she remembers us. I remember when we were singing with Natalie. I think we all came together for her. Well, they had something at the Hollywood Bowl when she was alive, and then they had, when she passed, they had a whole show for her celebrating her life. And they brought all the background singers to sing with her. And so Lisa was,
Oh,
we got
okay.
to sing together. And she had stories. She's like, I remember when you guys, she used to know us when we were the Scruggs sisters as little girls.
Okay.
She tells us all these stories of, I used to go to your concerts and da 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 da. And I'm like, what? So she knows us way before we even knew what was going on.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's funny.
Man, it's such a small world.
It is.
Um,
It
so
is.
so transitioning now into your doctoral thing.
Yes.
What is your doctorate in, and when will you be finished? And how much pressure has there been with that?
So my doctoral studies is it's like a continuation of my master's degree. So it'll be, at least the
Okay.
title will be a PhD in intercultural studies. So I'll be an expert in culture, and then my emphasis or my focus is African American music and music and culture. And so I will be, yes, I'll be an expert at music, theology, and culture of African Americans. And so I will be done. I'm finishing my coursework in June. So I'll be done with the
Okay.
class portion of it. And then I have 1 year of like doing direct studies with different scholars and different experts. And then I can write it. I have 10 years to finish it, but I don't want to do that. I can write and do my research for about 2 years. And so hopefully, what is that? In 3 years, I think I should be done. So yes, 2028, hopefully 29 at the latest.
Ooh.
But I'm not,
Ooh.
I am not, I'm my undergrad and my master's, I like breeze through everything. And so that was not my plan. My doctorate, I said, I'm their very first ever part-time PhD student. So they're watching my journey to see if they're going to offer this to other, parents and other people who have lives outside of education. And so I'm their first part-time person, so I'm able to do it around my life. I still take class
Okay.
with everyone, but it's split in half with what everyone's doing. So where everybody else is like taking 2.5 classes, I'm taking 1.5. So it's taken me longer to do different things, but it's been perfect for me to keep doing what I'm doing, to parent, to still do artistry, to still do I've had to cut back on the work I'm doing at AP, or at least how many students I have. But so I just work everything. I'm very adamant about my calendar. But yeah, so that's when I should be done. And I plan to do. It's already open doors to be able to. That concert that I did was fully funded by my advisor. Which is why I was able to do it as a benefit concert. So I plan to
That's great.
take this, and he's going to do the other 2 concerts that I'm doing that follow this one. So I plan to use it to just continue what I'm doing. Hopefully be able to fly to Botswana, fly to South Africa, and I do a concert in the morning, and the next day I'm doing a lecture on the concert that I just did. And just go and share African American music
Wow.
culture, put in my own originals. But I'm such a, I love that he's made me like this cultural guru of my own culture. Even in my lecture class, when I'm not talking about music, I tell people like the importance of knowing where you come from. And then from that, what am I talking about culture? Like you want to go and be a lawyer. I've had lawyers that lawyers or business students who want to go travel the world or do international business. And I'm like, you got to know where you come from. You got to know who you are. And then all those biases, all those things, all those prejudices, all those things that you think about other cultures, like it starts with knowing and loving who God made you to be, and then you can go and be this healthy person who can talk between culture. And so as I've gotten deeper into this doctoral degree, like my reading is so fascinating. Like even that story I told about Precious Lord, like I get to go into these songs and like dig deep into the stuff that I've been singing my whole life. Like that is I get to dig deep into the story of African American women and what as the passer on of cultures, as the griots, like what my mom did. Like I'm reading into my research is that. So it's fascinating and I love reading about it. So that's what my project and my dissertation will be about, in the popularization of Black music in other cultures. And I will be able to write about that, and I'll be able to share it through music and talking.
The more I get to know you, Aretha, the more you're an anomaly. There are not a lot of you. There are a lot of singers. The phrase, a dime a dozen, there are really that many singers. But watching, I wouldn't have as great of appreciation for what you said had I not watched the concert. And because all that you just said, as much as it's a mouthful, it's hard to visualize it. It's like, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? Because most times it's just singers, you're gonna sing, you're gonna do a record, you try to get a deal, you're gonna try to blow up on social media, and you gotta sing everywhere and just get out and you gotta get 10,000 followers and you're on your way. You said something that's so outside of that box. Because again, that's another box. What you're talking about is on an academic, cultural level. Then I was like, that's deep. But I was able to reflect while you were saying it about what I saw watching your concert, because you demonstrated some of what you're saying in plain view. And I was like, oh, this is not, because when I was watching the video, I was like, oh, okay, this is not just a concert.
Yeah.
What's going on here? What are we doing? Oh, she's doing the whole thing. It's the whole presentation. I said, baby, Aretha's doing a whole presentation. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, because, we was like, yeah, we missed it. But so I was like, yeah, look. So look at this. She got the whole little, and they're doing a Witness song, because Mika loves Witness too. She was like, wow. They all sing. I was like, yeah, all of them. There's a whole lot of singing that was going on at that house. But seeing the presentation makes me really appreciate what you just said. You are truly, I have never met an artist like you. I've met all types. I've met the artists who do teach, they teach music at the schools and all that, but you on some next level stuff with what you're talking about. Speaking of which, I need to go all the way back to something you said earlier. You said a phrase, and I was just like, oh, you said, I'm about music, culture, and faith. And I was like, that's a book title. So when you get ready to write your book, it needs to be music, culture, and faith.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Just because it jumps off the page. Those are three very strong words that tie everything together. They even tie economics together without having to focus on economics. And listening to you talk about what your plan is with your doctorate and all that you're doing and will be able to do, I was like, yeah, she's the epitome. You are the epitome of music, culture, and faith. And
Wow.
that's really rare, Aretha. You know,
Wow.
I know a lot of entertainers who are what's the word I want to use? They are Christ admitters. They talk about, you know, they talk about Jesus.
Right.
They don't often live Jesus. Um, they don't often express living for Jesus. They just like to talk about Jesus. And then I know a lot of gospel singers who sing it but don't live it.
No.
And so to me, your and I didn't know. I knew that you do worship and all this other stuff, but now that I've heard you talk about what you're really doing, it all makes sense to me. I was like, wow, she's Aretha's she different, and I appreciate it. I dig it. I dig it, and it's
Wow.
allowed you. It seems like it's allowed and allowing you to operate and navigate in all these different places
Yeah.
and still be you. You know, I asked you a question about whether or not all of this stuff has conflict with one another, but it's clear that you've mastered the art of seamless transitions with things because you're putting things together. I had to speak at a high school yesterday. No, today's Saturday. On Thursday, I had to speak at a high school that does a pneumonia program. It's one of 2 high schools in Southern California that does it, and it's a whole curriculum-based program for students from 9th to 12th grade. It's the only program. The program host is the 2 schools in my community. They're the only schools in the entire country that are doing this program, which is so weird because California is not really even a black state, so to speak.
Right.
But so I had to do these sessions with all these young people, and one of them was asking me, how do you because I have all these titles: podcaster, author, entrepreneur, singer, songwriter, producer, all these things that I've done. And I didn't even put hairstylist in there.
Right.
But when I started talking about it, they were like, "What you do?" I was like, "How do you do?" And they asked me, how do you keep the time management with this? And I said, it used to be difficult. I used to be all over the place, but I'm a really, really fantastic multitasker, but it got exhausting. And so now my focus is, if it doesn't align with the other things I'm doing, I consider it a season. And it's like, okay, let me put that to the side. That's a season right now. I miss singing really bad, Aretha. I have never missed singing like I miss it right now. But, and I got a studio 3 feet the next room over, but I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't. And I hate that because I'm really like I can feel a song in my heart now. I haven't felt like singing in a long time. It's like since because COVID like crushed everything. I had done an album in 2019, late 2019, and I had a whole plan for 2020. I had that event that I had Tony at was getting ready to be the kickoff for a whole series of events that I was going to do at that venue. In addition, I had a residence set up in Hollywood, in North Hollywood. I was getting ready to really, really give it. I had stopped going to school so I could do this album. And so I had taken 6 months off of school. It was like, I'm feeling like I need to do this album now, and everything that's associated with it. My band was tight and everything was just going to be killer. And COVID shut my whole music dream down. And I was like, oh my God. And I had so many people in my camp who were up and coming artists that I was getting ready to push forward. It all shattered. And when the world came back, opportunities had changed, the timing had changed, the seasons had changed, and my personal needs for life and my family had changed. And I was like, wow, okay. So there's that, deferred. And so now I find myself longing for music, but I don't yet have time. I'm planning, I'm looking ahead, and I see in the summer that I'll have some space to do some things that I've been wanting to do for the last 6 to 8 months. But I was like, Lord, I see the space, but you know the future. Please let the space be there. If I'm still here, let the space be there, because I want to do it. But I know right now I don't have the space to do it now because it doesn't fit with all the other things I'm doing. And so to listen to you do all these things, but they're all in harmony with one another.
Yeah.
I celebrate that. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
That's really dope.
and that's what people are like, why, or how do you teach? Like teaching, because I have the beauty of teaching singers. So I'm constantly around singers. I'm constantly around music. I feel like as I'm teaching them, I'm sharpening my sword. I'm sharpening my own sword. Yeah. So it is the beauty of, everything I do pours back into artistry, and what are we doing there, and what are the questions that I'm answering. I'm so glad you talked about these conflicts, the faith and sort of secular conflict, the just understanding the boxes that I sort of have run from, even the entertainment box. Like there's just so much meaning and depth that I have that I want to share with my audience, that I also never want to be an entertainer either. Like, so even just the boxes that I feel like I'm not even intentionally trying to get out of, but it's like the journey has taken me out of those boxes, just be my own expression. So
well, you're like the poster child for, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. It's like you just said that you had to learn 50 songs in 3 weeks, and that you had to be ready on set all the time to do whatever was thrown. It's like you are the epitome of staying ready. And that's a difficult task. Creatives are we all over the place sometimes. And so that's a daunting task, but you have mastered it. Well, Miss Aretha, I am so glad you took the time to talk to me today. I'm excited about all that you're doing. I'm proud of you. I feel like we've known each other forever, and especially since you spent time with my son under your wing. You're like family, and it's really cool. I'm glad that I got an opportunity to make that thing happen with Toni. Because I've always wanted to sing with her, but more importantly, I'm more grateful for the connection that it led to you, because you and I we've done so much together with music and with Blake, and you've been such a pivotal part of things that we're doing. It's really dope. I do have some more music that I want us to do. Hopefully when my lane is clear, yours will still be clear, because you might mess around and look, you be in Colombia somewhere.
Hey, let's go.
It's clear that you're ready. You stay ready, so it's clear.
Right. What you need? How many singers you need? I got them. Let's put the band together.
Right, like she didn't pack her. She went to Bolivia, but she didn't pack her microphone. What?
You best to believe I know how to pack my microphone now. I'm going with it all everywhere I go.
That's right. Okay. Well, look, girl,
Okay.
I know that you got to get ready for Disney tonight, to go do your thing. Please tell Jay I said what's up. And thank you for being such a gracious guest today. I always enjoy talking to you and seeing you perform and do all that you do. And I'm a fan. I want you to know I'm a fan. And so I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You leave me with some nuggets to chew on. So thank you about
That's
my
the
own
goal.
voice. So thank you. Yeah.
That's the goal.